Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. Chris, we've got the Georgia Bulldogs on tap today. How many wins, how many losses for my dogs?
Okay. I said it on multiple videos now. I don't think anybody's going undefeated. I think Georgia's one of the top 5, 6 teams, best teams in the country this year again. I have them going 10-2, and I know these losses are going to shock you because Georgia's only lost, I think, like one home game since like 2018 or 2019 or something like that. I have them losing two this year. And I know this is going to piss off the Bulldog fans. I have them losing to Bama. Why? I got to see Kirby Smart beat Bama. That's where I've been kind of staying with this mantra the entire time on these prediction videos. I also have them losing to Texas. I know that pains me to say that, Christian, and I know you're upset at me, but what is your record prediction for your Bulldogs this season?
Chris, I got them going undefeated.
This guy.
I'm kidding. No, I got them going 10-2 too. Again, we agree. Again, slightly different here in the teams I got them losing to. Texas, one of those losses. Florida, interestingly enough, is the one that I picked them to lose to. Neutral site game. I don't know, man. I mean, Florida last year played with Georgia pretty well, and I thought they gave them a pretty good run. They just fizzled out there at the end. I think Florida's one of those dangerous teams, and we were talking about it in one of the last videos we did about Florida. Billy Napier is a coach that I wish got fired because now we've let him hang around and we let him keep his job. Well, we didn't let him, but Florida did. Let him keep his job, and I think he's coming for a lot of teams this year. Now, do I think Florida's going to do anything like win a national championship? No, not this year. But I think Georgia has got to watch out and just be careful because you're the big dog, and Florida, they want a piece of that action, dog. What's the most important game on the schedule for you, Chris?
I want to say Tennessee, but it's not. Georgia owns Tennessee. I mean, Kirby Smart's figured out Heupel in that offense. I honestly think it's Bama. I do. I really do because of, for whatever reason, Kirby Smart, God, he beats the shit out of everybody else in the SEC. But man, when it comes to Bama, and we can't say it was just Nick Saban because it was DeBoer last year, right? In that crazy game.
Yeah.
I think it's Bama, man. I mean, if they lose to Bama, it doesn't end their season, but I do think that's an important one. I'm with you on a couple of these, though. I think the at Auburn game is a tough one also just because they're a rival. Auburn seems to play you guys very tough every year, no matter what team they roll out there. I'm with you on Florida. I do think that was a really good game last year. Dare I say Georgia Tech at the end of the year? They should have beat you guys last year. That was a hell of a football game to watch. But there's a lot of Georgia's got a tough schedule here. There's a lot of good teams in here. I think to come out 10-2, with our record prediction would be a great season though for Georgia. What's your thoughts though, Christian? What's their toughest game? What do you think?
100%. I totally agree. Alabama is the game. Kirby has struggled to beat Bama. Doesn't matter whether it's in Atlanta, in Alabama, or at Georgia. He has struggled with Alabama. So I want to turn this into an open question. You guys let us know down below. Could this turn into a Ryan Day, Michigan conundrum with the Georgia has here? Where even though Ryan Day won a national championship last year with Ohio State, he still hasn't beaten Michigan in how many years in a row now? And people are starting to kind of say well, I don't care if he wins the national championship again this year. If he can't beat Michigan, we don't want him. What? What? So I know how I feel. I don't care if we lose to Alabama and win a national championship, but at the same time, if we lose to Alabama and don't win a national championship, that's going to kind of put a little more salt in the wound. And here's the thing, kind of like Clemson, kind of like Bama, Saban at Bama. When you build a program and to take them into that next level, you're kind of sometimes a victim of your own success. So when you start winning national championships, when you start getting teams to the playoff, fans want more of that. And when you lose to somebody repeatedly, they don't really like that. So just saying. Looking at some of the key losses here, Chris. Some of these guys, I'm not sure if you can call them losses. Carson Beck, Trevor Etienne. Hey, he was a great player. I still think Trevor Etienne should have came back for one more year and tried to rectify that situation, though. The wide receiver room, you had Arian Smith, Dom Levick. Defensively, like always, they lost a ton on the defensive side of the ball. Michael Williams, Nazir Stackhouse, Jalen Walker, Small Munden, Chaz Chambliss, and Malachi Starks. Also, very underrated guy they lost, Dan Jackson. Been around the program for 18 years. I think he got his doctorate in Kirby Smart Football School for the Blind or whatever it was. So kind of a key loss there. Some of their key additions, Chris, we'll just touch on them real quick. Josh McCray, talented Illinois transfer. Wide receivers, Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas. Two questions I ask about these guys. Do they have a heartbeat, and can they catch the football?
You didn't mention it, but you were going there. Led the country in drop passes last year. I know a lot of people, we did a little bit too, was harp on Carson Beck and the turnover problem, but my God, he got no help from the wide receivers. You guys had slot guys playing outside, which was really weird. Not that Georgia is this predominantly wide receiver powerhouse like LSU or Ohio State, but you guys didn't. It was weird last year. And the drop balls, they will be much more improved this season. That way, one thing I want to hear your thoughts on this as well. I watch a lot of Georgia football, especially last couple of seasons. My biggest question is offensively, Christian, is the O-line. They had a ton of talent. Three or four of those dudes got drafted, but they didn't play well as a unit last year. Remember, you guys could not run the football. It was painful because I'm so used to seeing Georgia with these elite backs and running all over the place, and it didn't happen last year. I know you guys brought in some guys, but that's my biggest question on the offensive side of the ball. What's your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, speaking of offensive linemen, in Drew Bobo, we trust, the son of Mike Bobo, the most favorite son of the state of Georgia right now. If those that don't know, that maybe aren't Georgia fans and just clicking on, Mike Bobo is probably has one of the hotter seats in college football this year. A lot of people wanted him gone after last year, so you're exactly right. Now, to the offensive line's credit, and part of the issue I saw with Georgia last year, the great part when they put the all 22 on and you could watch it from some of those like ESPN back angles where you could kind of see what the defense was doing and the offensive linemen. There would be times like in the Kentucky game, for example, where you'd watch and like a running back would have a hole and he would just hit the wrong hole, or he would hesitate or whatever have you. He just wouldn't hit the right hole. And that would be really frustrating. But also you turn around and 2 plays later or on the next play, they would try to run the ball or do something and there just wouldn't be any holes. There would be nothing. They would just get swallowed up. And to me, again, you got to put the blame on Mike Bobo because it's all whatever layer, whatever dimension you want to talk about this offense last year, Chris, was not good. It was not on the same page. I can't put the blame on Carson Beck. I can't put the blame on Trevor Etienne. I can't put the blame solely on the offensive line, and I can't put the blame solely on the receivers because everybody at points last year had terrible games. The Georgia never at any point last year as an offense played a full, complete game. I don't care if it was the who gives a shit of Chattahoochee Tech they were playing. They just never played a complete game. And that was the most frustrating thing for me on that side of the football. Looking at the defensive side of the ball, Kirby Smart's bread and butter, they bring in Elo Mendoza, Army transfer. I didn't even know Service Academy kids could transfer. So shout out. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate it over here at the I-80 boys. Had 6.5 sacks last year, by the way, at Army. And he's slotted to be a starter this year. So should be a good edge rusher for Georgia, in my opinion. Bring back Colby Young. Had some troubles going on midway through the season, whatever it was, and ended up not playing. But when this guy could play, man, he's a talent out there. He's a true number one wide receiver. Like Chris, you were talking about, starting slot guys at the outside. This guy could be an outside threat for Georgia. Two of the big pieces of this puzzle. Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky. Georgia's kind of turned into tight end U over the last few years, and both these guys had 600 yards combined, by the way, and 7 touchdowns. They need to double those stats this year for Georgia to be where I want them to be at. Both those guys need to combine and put up 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns combined in order for them to have a successful year. Who can take over that role? Nate Frazier, one of your favorite players, Chris. I'm going to stop it right here and let you kind of tell me a little bit about some of these guys we touched on there.
No, I want to stop. Nate Frazier, I think, is going to have a coming out year. It's one thing about Georgia. They've had the DeAndre Swifts, Todd Gurley's. I think this kid is that good. He was a freshman last year. It showed at times. Like I said, some of that was the piss poor play of the O-line. And he was banged up a little bit. But if you watch him, man, he's electric. He's a little different. So I like I said, I expect him to have a big year. We didn't touch on him. Gunnar Stockton. I mean, this guy is a totally different quarterback than Carson Beck, right? Gunnar Stockton likes to run. I'm not saying he can't throw the football. I don't think he has the arm talent of Carson Beck, but he does bring a little different dimension, I think, to this offense. They didn't showcase it much in the Notre Dame game. If you remember, that's when he got to play last year. That was a big game. But I do like Gunnar Stockton. I think it's going to be different to see how he plays. This guy reminds me more of God. I'm drawing a blank now. Who's the guy that won the two natties for you guys at quarterback?
Oh, Stetson Bennett.
He reminds me a little bit of him. He just seems like he's a homegrown kid. He loves the University of Georgia. That all that thing. I just like him. I like his play style. I think he's going to be similar to a Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, I want to add this on Gunnar Stockton. You're absolutely right. From a prospect standpoint, is he what Carson Beck was projected to be and still we're waiting to see? No. But the one thing about Gunnar Stockton, you see this a lot in the NFL, where guys get there and they're very talented. Everybody's talented when you get to the NFL. But it's not always the most talented or highest draft picked guys that end up having the best careers in the league. It's the guys that refuse to quit and the guys that continue to keep working and grinding and getting better. And at points last year, we saw it. The biggest thing that Georgia fans came out of last year asking, and the reason why I think Carson Beck takes a lot of blame in this, is there was times where it felt like he wasn't really bought into football. It felt like he kind of wanted all the glitz and glamour that came along with it, the media attention, the Cavender twins down there in Miami, the Lambos, the nice shit. But he just didn't produce last year at times, and he didn't seem like he was taking it serious, and that kind of got called into question around that playoff game against Notre Dame. So can Gunnar Stockton, who's a Georgia kid, grew up a dog, can he commit to it? Can he live it? Can he breathe it? Can he eat it? And if he can do that, Georgia's a talented enough team to win it all. And I think that's really the question that you have to ask yourself there. So, that's my thoughts on Gunnar Stockton as far as I'm concerned. Looking at, just to finish this up, we'll go pretty quick here. On the defensive side of the ball, bring back C.J. Allen, K.J. Bolden at the free safety spot, and Daylon Everett, one of their best cornerbacks from last year. D-line should be good. Got some questions there. Talented guys. Can they produce and live up to their hype? My last thoughts on this, Chris. With a full offseason, you touched on it, can Gunnar Stockton keep the car on the road? You don't need him to be elite. You just need him to be able to make some plays, every so often and get the ball into the playmaker's hands. How's that front seven going to reload? Lost a good chunk of it to the NFL after last year. Lost some key pieces to the portal. Some guys off to the portal there. My thing is, and we touched on it earlier, can Kirby beat Bama?